Anybody had a trade on gold like since the market opened?
Not had any trade since Friday. Since Thursday, rather, I've not had any trade.
But
I've just been observing.
is anybody anticipating anything?
Is
Huh?
it? Can't hear you very well.
Is anybody anticipating anything?
Oh,
No.
I'm barely hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. So what's um Henry? Is Henry online? Okay, he's not. Oh, yeah, now so let's see what we have. Okay, so from what we had, okay, so from what we had during the market close, okay, not even from that area. So apparently we're looking at this as the last break of structure, and then anticipating that price will break this as the next break of structure. So what it means is we had this range, right? So we actually picked this as the market structure shift or change of character, and then this as a liquidity, the hope of price buying to take out this high, this high. But the best price did was that it then broke this structure. And because there was, let's be accurate with this one, there was a breaker block here. Okay, I think I found it. There was a breaker block here. With confirmation, let's give this last change of character. Liquidity here. I think on the 1 minute, get a zone around here. Right, so this was where the change of character happened. It was where we now had a change of character that made this guy liquidity for this zone here. For this zone here, I think we can even, yes, okay. Okay, there's an other block there. So for this zone here, so apparently this guy then changed character here and then sold from this region. I think he gave another change of character. Yeah. So apparently we had this change of character and then this liquidity into the zone. And then we had another change of character, this as liquidity into this other block. Let's delete this into this other block. And that's where this last guy sold from, right? So now we have an entire range. First of all, the trend is a bullish trend. So all of this sell was just a pullback, right? So this was all of the moves that happened here was just a pullback into this guy, because this is the actual higher time frame break of structure as at last week. This was the last break of structure, and you know the drill. So how I trade is, or what I've always thought is, you think first your structure, and then you want to point out where your liquidity is, and then you want to um, get your zone. So whatever I trade, even when I was doing what is it called? When I was doing chart patterns in combination with SNR, it was always twice of this. So once I get a chart, an SNR, and I get a chart pattern, I want price to still come retest either a neckline, which will now act as another SNR. Then I look for a smaller chart pattern that I can use to trade. So it's the same thing I do here. That's the best way to trade any pattern. You look for confirmation, and then the confirmation is still structure, liquidity, and then your zone or POI or other block, whichever one. So having identified this, we had all of these areas as our liquidity, right? We had all of this area as our liquidity. Now we had several zones. First zone in the entire area is first this guy, and then we had this guy here. Sorry, let me top up my data. Okay, let's continue as I do that. We have this other guy here. I hope you know this is source for this guy here, or this guy is the source for this move here. And then we had one other move here, which is this, right? But then which zone do you take? You take the zone closest to liquidity, which is this other block. Now, if you watch, you'll discover something, that you have wicks down to this area. So which means we have this as the rally and all of this area as the base rally that broke the structure. So that's to tell you that we have this zone closest to liquidity, right? And then this is now the area that price came for. Now I was actually up at the point where all of this push happened, right? So we then have this as the most current break of structure. Now, what I expected market to do was to, after it took out this guy, because since this is the change of character here, this is now the break of structure. Then obviously we have this guy as the change of character. obviously we have this guy as the change of guard. So once market took out this guy, I was expecting that okay, price will come back into this entire area for a buy. That was my anticipation. But price did not pull back into this. There's something price actually did. I think it was on the 1 minute. He used a flip zone around this area to just continue pushing up. So immediately price broke out. Let me get the exact zone. Okay. I think I get it now. So price used this area now, this flip zone now for the push to the upside, right? That was what price did. So price tapped into this zone and then continued pushing. Now, ordinarily, like I said the other time, you don't just be rigid to what price is doing. If you find price in your direction, let's say you have a break of structure, you have your liquidity, and you're expecting price to come here to a zone here, and then eventually price did not come back into that zone, but now broke another structure to the upside. Or let's say created something like this, a change of character, liquidity, and then left a zone here, goes up, comes back into this zone, taps into it with a change of character preceding it, or succeeding it rather, and then you have liquidity, and then you now have another order block. You can take a trade here, right? And target this zone. What that has done is that you have your structure, your liquidity, and then your POI times 2, which is what we actually trade. So if you see it here, even if you take a loss here, it will be a valid loss. So what prompted this buy that I had here is this same thing. Now, ordinarily, you want to see all of this as liquidity. You are correct. But will you just allow all of this to move, knowing fully well that price has been in a bullish trend, considering both fundamental and technicals? You wouldn't wait for price to just come into this. And it's good to wait, but then you would have missed out on this move. So what I did was I came to the lower time frame. Let's see, it was 1 minute. Okay, I saw this last break of structure to the upside, which gives me a change of character. I saw this as liquidity, and then this entire range as my order block. Same thing price did. Price gave a market structure shift, gave liquidity, and then I had this entire area. So I was then looking at this whole order block or this whole range, because this is where price actually shifted, right? And if this is where price shifted, my first pullback becomes what? My liquidity, which is this guy, right? So no matter what price was doing throughout yesterday, I did not break even. I just allowed it. So it went for all of the persons who broke even. What he did was he went away, came back. So it would have cleared some people. Let's say you broke even at this point, it would have cleared you out. You went all the way up, still came back, cleared some people who had already break even on their trade, cleared all of them out. I think at some point I added, I can't even recall where I added an entry, but I think it was somewhere around here. I added another entry, right? And there's a reason for that. It's still, if you understand candlestick formation, it's still my structural liquidity and then another block. So that's how I actually took a trade here. Simple stuff. Structure. I had liquidity here. And then other block here. I had structure here, liquidity, and then, sorry, other block, right? So what I'm saying is, if I have a break of structure here, I have liquidity here, and then I have a point of interest here, I will not buy directly, because my rule says if I have my structure, I have my liquidity, and then I have my point of interest. I must wait for the process to repeat itself. So once price taps into this, I'll wait for a structure shift, which is structure. I'll wait for price to give me liquidity, and then I'll wait for a change of character, order block entry, and then before I can buy. So it must be, whether you're seeing it as SLP times 2, or you are seeing the P as zone. So SLZ must be times 2. So regardless, so it's more like getting confirmation for your trade. So you would have had a clean 8R, but because I understand Fibonacci extension, I was actually able to hold to, I think, this point, right? So that's, by the way, please, do you understand? So right now, what we are expecting on gold, we have this as the last structure. Let's go to something. We have this as the last structure, and then this as liquidity, and then we have this point of interest. And I hope you know why I am picking that area. Okay, we still have something that looks good here. Watch this zone. Watch this zone, right? Watch this zone right here. But I'll prefer to wait for price to come into this. So whatever you're doing, okay, so this is money transfer. We have price giving series of change of character, liquidity, and then price came into this zone, did what? Gave a change of character, gave liquidity, and has not come back into the zone. So based on storyline, we have this zone as an unmitigated zone. So we have this zone as an unmitigated zone. If you want to look at it from a break of structure perspective, let's see if this has mitigated. Okay, this guy has not mitigated. So what you just look at would now be, let's be on a safer side, because price might want to be funny. 5 minutes. Soon is no. Nah, I'm not going to take any of this. I would rather wait for price to come into this zone. So if price comes into this zone, right, I would wait for. So let me do this. I have my structure, I have my liquidity, and then I have my point of interest, which is 1. So I'll need to wait for another structure to happen here, liquidity, and then I'll pick another block here to now join the ride. right? However, if price does not do that, then we will now wait for this to happen. Or at best, let's see, at best, if that does not happen, then we can use trust price to use a breaker here. I'm just looking at all of the possibilities, right? Now, so we have this other block here, this other block here, and this other block. Now, this other block is for just this zone. So the possibility that price, here's the last high, that price takes out this is quite high. So if we have that break of all of this zone, it simply means price will then use it as liquidity. Now, what is the closest zone? You do not have, we just have an imbalance here. That's why I'm introducing this breaker, because you might just wait and see that price does not come directly into this, and then to eventually start reversing somewhere like this. That's why I'm introducing the breaker. So we have this breaker. So it's more like a flip zone. This is what the last sell candle that was that was disrespected. So it becomes more like a flip zone, right? So we have liquidity protecting it here. And now if this fails, remember, we are looking for the same thing here, here, and here, right? Before you can pick any trade, so that you not go and have one loss here, and eventually get a winning trade here. Before you pick a trade here, make sure you get your structural liquidity and an order block. Before you pick a trade here, make sure you get a structural liquidity and an order block. Before you pick a trade here, make sure you get a structural liquidity and an order block. So that's what we have today. Questions, please.
All right. Thank you for the enlightenment. Sorry, can you please um throw light on using to identify what's it called, candlestick formation in terms of reversal candlesticks.
Reversal candlesticks.
Yes, you made mention of it, I think, in the last class about when you will see Aramai or something.
Yeah,
So I don't know if you can just show us on the charts like this.
okay. So, like here now, you would easily find, usually you have, let's say you're expecting a bullish reversal. You can get something like this as a reversal that's coming from either, let's say you are trading SNI, you might come on your support region, or you are trading order block. So it might come from this range. So this is one of it. And then you have another, basically. So this one now is a morning star. The inverse of it would now be an evening star. That's for a sell. You get it? Now, the second type, most valid of all of them, is the engulfing candle, right? So a bullish engulfing, or for a sell, a bearish engulfing. Now, an example would be this guy that came from this other block here. So if you were waiting for price to give confirmations, you might have missed out on it. But you would have gotten a morning star. So like what I just drew, you have this, you have a smaller candle appearing, and then you have this other candle, right? Now this usually comes in form of a doji. So some persons can trade directly from this, but I wouldn't advise. I would want to see momentum. So once this candle shows indecision or weakness, this one will now show strength. Now, for the evening star, we have this one happening. So you can have something like this, and then this one. Let's look for another one. I rarely use that, except like in 1 minute where I would expect stuffs to happen. Now, like if you are trading and then this is a zone, this is a zone. Now, once you have these three candle formation, you can have a sell from here. And then you are targeting, let's say you're able to catch that trend, you are now targeting the internal structure liquidity. So no matter what price does not take it out, right? Now the caution here is make sure that you are following the trend and then you know where you're picking your point of interest. But the best of all is still your change of character. No matter how you want to see it, it is still your change of character, your liquidity, and then your order block as a confirmation. Now, no matter what price does here, it should not take out your order block zone. Sometimes the market might want to grab more liquidity and then give you that candlestick formation, right? Now, if let's say gave you the candlestick formation and then comes to, let's say you have your trade here and then you are targeting somewhere here. Now, it is possible that price can still come and then grab all of this. Now, but even if it grabs this guy here, takes you out, it will still give you the same you will still find the same candle formation for another reversal. But you see, if you are taking an order block region, the entire area is protected, and then you have this as your point of invalidation. So the only way you know this is invalid is if price takes it out. And that was one reason I did not break even on this trade. Because if you are looking at it from this perspective, this was the last change of character, right? And then this is the last break of structure. So for me to break even, I should have seen an actual candle break to signify that, okay, all of this area have been taken out. That's when I can now break even. Right? So you don't just jump to break even until you have a proper break of structure. I don't know if you get the idea, until you have a proper break of structure. So I can give you more. All of these are reversal areas. You'll find engulfing candles. This is an engulfing candle in this area. The moment price tapped, it gave a bullish momentum to the upside. Here too, a bullish momentum to the upside. But like I said, the disadvantage would be, how would you be trading here? And then your SL is this. When you would have used, where's the order block again? When you would have used this as the order block, I think it was even on the 1 minute and it was smaller. When you would have, so why use this when you can use this? Do you get the idea? So as much as you want to use the candlestick confirmation, I would also advise you stick to the order block. You still have an engulfing here for reversals. You still have engulfing candles here for reversals.
Yes, I'm just looking at what you just explained now, like
Okay.
combining candlestick with the order block.
Okay.
So anything of such formation that is outside the order block is a no for me.
Okay. Um, any other question?
Boss, please.
Yeah.
That BOS that was invalid, that
Which
you
one?
now said is a change of character.
Where we had our
The
buy last week.
Yes, last week.
Okay.
I want to see how the change of character was.
that means I have to delete everything. So we had
My
a
my
block
horror is
trade.
it POS or POI?
Omo, I'm just waking up.
You're hallucinating. We were looking at this area. No. It wasn't that area because our liquidity was here. So we're looking at this area as our order block area. However, this is where the change of character happened, right? Now, even though we had a buy here, we still did not consider this to be the change of character, right? We actually considered this as the range. That's from here to here as the range. So we're expecting more buys to take out this guy. However, price coming into this was just to create more liquidity because after the change of character here, price then used a breaker for a buy that eventually caused a sweep of this and then a change of character here because after price after price gave the confirmation here, that's a change of character here. Sorry, a change of character here. It gave liquidity here and then came into this other block region to buy. What it means is the next buy would have happened here. I don't know if you get the point. The next buy should have happened here. So if this is the last buy that took out this guy, it simply means we should now expect another buy to take out this guy. But eventually that failed. And because this is the last low that created this high, that became the point of invalidation. So the moment this was taken out, we now had this change of character, right? If you read price action from after the change of character happened, you see that this is liquidity and then this is the source of the liquidity. So you can have your liquidity like this, but I like to keep it as per straight line, right? So this is now the liquidity and then this is the closest POI. Now we do not have any other POI. Check here down to this area. All of the areas have been mitigated. This is the only area that is not mitigated. And that's why we had that sell. Now, the moment price taps into this, gave a change of character, whatever wick you want to pick as liquidity, price cleared it, right? Price gave another change of character, gave liquidity, and then tapped into the area and sold. Changed character, gave liquidity, and did what? Came back to this other block. Sorry. To this other block where it now sold again. So it was doing the same structural liquidity order block. It was just that we were on the wrong side of the trend. We were on the wrong side of the trend. And it was okay. It was only few persons that were able to catch the sell. See what we were looking at. We were looking at this as the last buy order block for this change of character here that left this liquidity and then this order block. Now, price transferred money and then changed character, gave liquidity, and then we have an order block. So the moment this was buying, this now became the point of invalidation for us. Meanwhile, it kept buying into a sell order block. It bought into a sell order block and then eventually took out the last buy order block. So basically, we were not absolutely wrong. We just were on the wrong side of the market. But as per our structure, liquidity, and order block, our entry was on point, but the trend was wrong. So this was where we got it wrong. We misinterpreted this. And we were hoping for price to tap into this. You get it?
Yeah. Thank you, boss. Oh, this is that man.
So let's see what price gives to us this week. You know what we are looking at? We are looking at one area here. We are looking at a breaker block here, and then we are looking at an order block here. Chiamaka, any question?
No, sir.
How's your week been?
So I'm still watching.
Oh, you have taken like 5 trades this week. Yeah. You've not taken any trade this week.
I've not.
Okay, better. Let's preserve our capital. So once price gives us reaction, I'll update you guys. Are we good?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, now enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, sir, and you too.